I didn't want to fail. You gotta be on your A game every single time you're out there. Always, my motto has always been race to win, plan to win, and without that experience, I would not have made it in America. I just love that tight arena, that intensity up, and that just suited my racing. So I chased the dream. It was very difficult and be one of the tough competitors in that class, something I'm pretty proud of. There's not many Australians to be able to do that. I mean, nothing compares to it. The pinnacle of motorsport racing for motocross.
One of the most talented Australian motocross and supercross riders is here with us right now. Brett Metcalfe has experienced it all around the world. He has so much level of experience. Brett, welcome here today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me on.
Now let's talk first up about where it all started for Brett Metcalfe.
Well, I guess I was 4 years old really, riding a PB50 here in Mannum, South Australia. And that's kind of, my older brother Shane was riding at that time, and it was a family sport. That's kind of how most families get their introduction is, at the ground level with kids riding PB50s, and that was how I started off, and fell in love with the sport, went through the career as a junior progressing, but it all started off just with an interest and a love for riding motorbikes on two wheels.
Now you said your brother Shane, a big influence for you. Did he help you? You said it helped you get into it, but did he drag you along with your career as well, especially through the younger years?
Yeah, I think, having a brother just in front of me there's always like a bit of a carrot to chase a little bit, and it's kind of how it was for me. It was he would learn and I'd learn off of him, and we'd progress kind of at the same levels through the bike capacity. But it's nice to have someone to look at and then kind of learn from too. So I think it was a little bit similar for Chad with Craig Anderson too. He had an older cousin and he would chase him along, and it was kind of the same for me and Shane.
Now, we are here with Supercross for this particular event. When was your first exposure into Supercross?
Wow, I mean, first exposure into Supercross would have to go back to when I was about 10 years old, and that's how early we used to start riding Supercross back in the day. And even in South Australia, the state had a Supercross series. So us kids were introduced to Supercross, double jumps, and then I remember watching you, here in these stadiums, Danny, like, as a kid on an 80, and so we started much younger, and that really helped us to adapt when I went to America. I already had that skill set, which is so required in America if you want to compete and be successful. So I loved it. As soon as you start riding Supercross, you do doubles and you can get through the whoops. I just loved that tight arena, that intensity up, and that just suited my racing. So I really fell in love with it and continued on from there.
Now, you said you were at a very young age doing Supercross, as too was I. I know I feel that's something that really benefited, like you said, benefited our skill level the whole way through. It's a great thing that they did do that series in South Australia from such an early age. I think that it really does lift that level of a rider's ability up all the way through.
I think when you can start riding Supercross and you learn the skill set required, it makes you a better rider. Motocross, much different. You don't have to have so much control of your motorcycle. When you're racing Supercross, you got to have 100% control of your bike, and that comes back to the rider. So it's a very rider-skilled discipline. Where motocross, you can kind of just turn your brain off a little bit and just kind of send it. Supercross, you cannot do that. So I think learning the skill set required at a younger age is really good. You understand how the bike needs to operate, how you need to operate it, and I think it's just a great thing.
Now, progressing through your career just a little bit more, one of the things that we do have now is in motocross, of course, the MX3 here with Supercross, SX3, where the junior riders get a chance to ride against the more senior riders, the guys who are gone 16, 17 years old. I believe that you did a little bit of racing against some of the seniors in New Zealand to actually try and get that same experience.
Yeah, in my day when I was 15, we didn't have MX3 class. I think it's a fantastic class. Getting the experience against similar age competitors is a fantastic thing now. But I kind of created my own. I didn't have that here in Australia when I was 15. And so I went across to New Zealand, and they had a fantastic rule back then where at 15 you could step up into the MX2 class and ride riders like yourself or Andrew Hardesty back in the day that I can remember, and a couple others, Josh Coppins was there. And so I went across there and competed against those guys, and that was a massive improvement in my riding and mindset, really, because when you're riding your junior riders only, you kind of get, you're not sure what you're chasing, and then all of a sudden I've got these senior riders that push me around a bit, and I wasn't the top dog now. I'm like getting my butt kicked a bit, so I'm like, I had to progress and jump up, and it forced me to do so, and really helped me at that age to step up a level and get ready for the senior competition.
Now, moving forward just a little bit more from there, you would eventually move over to America and have a career over there. I never got that chance, but I've been over there and seen the level that Supercross especially is in America. Talk about when you first turned up there, the first time you jumped on the line at an AMA Supercross, the nerves, what you had to do leading into it.
Wow, the first AMA race was in 2003, and like I'd said, I had that experience from the indoor Supercross here as a junior coming through, so I had the experience. And without that experience, I would not have made it in America. Bar none, I wouldn't have made it. So I got there that first race, we were in, I believe it was Atlanta. And I remember walking into the stadium, biggest stadium I've ever raced in, the most people I'd ever seen. But it didn't spook me, because I was like, oh, I've seen this on a smaller scale. I can do it. Let's just go and do it. And that first year I finished 5th in the East Coast Championship, was pretty good, a couple podiums. So I took to it straight away. And my whole junior career or life, I was looking at Jeremy McGrath, Jeff Emig, all those American superstars, and I was like, man, I just want to get there and do what they're doing, and that was, it kind of sparked the dream, and then I just chased it.
Now, and you stayed over there for quite some time as well, had a lot of years in America and a lot of success as well.
I did. I think 13 years, 11 years of Supercross racing. Best result was a 3rd in the East Coast Lights Championship. A lot of podiums in the Lights class, or MX2 class, sorry. Best result in the Supercross class was a 4th. I was so close to getting on the podium, but I didn't quite get that. But overall, just the experience of being able to say I raced there for that long and to be able to do it and be one of the tough competitors in that class, something I'm pretty proud of. There's not many Australians to be able to do that. And, Chad obviously set the bar as an Australian extremely high, but on a world level, he's like one of the best to ever do it. So, to be just, in that category is pretty special.
And we know how intense it is in America as a top athlete to race, the amount of races they do. Surely some injuries play into this 13-year barrier somewhere along the line. How difficult is that to manage and then come back from?
Yeah, if you could take injuries out of it, man, I think I would have done a few more starts. But look, we all accept it. When we put a helmet on, we know injuries in any sport, motocross for sure, it's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's when. It's just how you manage yourself, And, definitely a lot of injuries along the way, but I was able to rebound, recover. And, in Supercross, I really didn't pick up too many injuries, actually. I was pretty stable on the Supercross series. So, but like in any sport, Danny, as well as anybody, the injuries do peg you back a bit, and you got to continue to believe and remember what you're doing it for, and it's the love of it, and that's what pushes you through.
So then, following on the back of that, what was the decider to say, okay, it's time to head home?
Really, at the end of my career in America, it was kind of like, all right, I actually started to go to Canada for a couple of years racing, different scene. Came back to America, did some Supercross, and I was like, I had two children at that time, and it was like, well, what opportunities are here? And it was always my goal after my career, whether it was Europe or America, I always wanted to come back to Australia. I always visioned going overseas, competing, racing, and then coming back here and giving back to the sport here. So that's, I'm lucky enough to be able to do that, and it was really just at that point where I'm like, okay, I've done what I wanted to do. I'm probably not going to get better. There's a lot of people coming through. It might be time to step back, come to Australia and finish out, retire here as an Aussie. Yeah.
The family aspect of it, obviously it's probably a fair bit easier here at home, but overseas in America, was that something you had a lot of, was it difficult to juggle that life?
Very difficult. You know, I moved over there as an 18-year-old kid. Not much money, not much anything except a gear bag and some clothes, you know, and chase the dream. It was very difficult, you know, without your home base, you know, your family that you can fall back on. I never had that. So I was always driven and a little bit of fear-based too, because if I don't make it, I felt like I'd fail. And I never wanted that to happen. So I just always pushed and pushed, and that's probably what drove me as hard as I did, was I didn't want to fail. And so there's a little bit of fear-based there, like just to continue on. And but yeah, it was always a struggle at times. You know, not getting results, you lose your ride. So it's you gotta be on your A game every single time you're out there.
Now back into Australia, absolutely a welcomed name back here in the motocross scene and the Supercross. You've already mentioned, you know, you're towards the end of your career. You know, you're the elder statesman out there. But what we see from the sidelines, from a commentator's point of view, is the knowledge and the heart that you have, the experience you have out on the track against some of the younger riders that might be able to go balls out all the time, but the knowledge and experience comes into it. Do you find that's a bit of an advantage for yourself in racing?
Yeah, if I didn't have that experience and the knowledge, I wouldn't be competitive now. And I really rely on that now. You know, I'm 39. I've kind of stated that next year, 2024, will be my last year. I'll be 40, and that's something I'm proud of. You know, I've taken care of my body enough. I'm disciplined enough to know what I'm doing, but without that experience and knowledge, I wouldn't be competitive, you know. So that's not to say I still put in as much as I can, and even though it looks like I'm in control, sometimes you're not. You know, you got to go for it. But definitely helps, you know, that I've been around the world. I've raced the GPs, I've raced America, I've been in the Motocross Nation 6 times for Australia. Got a lot of experience, so definitely helps me be competitive here.
Let's talk about Des Nations. You were on one of the most successful Australian teams so far. We're actually representing them there again, actually this weekend, so could be a big one. But tell us about your time. 6 times on the team. That must be pretty special for you.
Yeah, phenomenal event. I mean, nothing compares to it. You know, everything that I've done in my career, that is still the pinnacle of motorsport racing for motocross. And to be 6 times selected, a couple times captain, and then a member of the equal best Australian team to do it so far this weekend. Could change, but you know, 3rd with myself, Chad Reed, Matt Moss. So pretty special team, and that was an incredible moment for Australian motocross to finally get over the hump of, you know, they can't get top 3. You know, we finally did it, and that was pretty cool to be a part of that. My name in the record books for that is nice, but just a phenomenal event and cool to be a part of.
Moving back to the Supercross scene that we have presented here in front of us, the reintroduction of the 85cc Cup that's going to be here racing this weekend. What are your thoughts on that? We've already spoken about how we started at a very young age. Do you think this is a good move?
Oh, you know, the best move here in Australia by far is the CR 2285 Cup. You know, we need it. And I don't want to, it's difficult. Like we all had, as juniors, we had Supercross, and then it seemed like it went away. You know, and there was a big hole there, and Australian riders really struggled with Supercross. We could do it, but we didn't do it enough. And now to see it getting momentum again and really pushing it here in this Australian Supercross series is awesome. And I think it's going to, you know, we might not see it right now, but in 5 years' time, all these riders are going to have that Supercross experience, and the top riders, when they go across overseas, they'll be ready, you know. But other riders that have shown up, they're not ready. And you kind of get eaten up straight away, and it's over. So it's a really exciting time. I love to see it back in here, especially in these indoor stadiums. It's great. And I think it's the best thing that we can really all talk about right now is the reintroduction of the 85 Cup.
You've also set yourself up into a bit of a life after motocross at the moment with the introduction of the team that you've created as well. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so currently, you know, with the backing of Penrite Oil, you know, my brand and team, Go24, stands for Get Outdoors. And during COVID, everyone's stuck, you know, Victoria, New South Wales, everyone was on lockdown, and that's kind of where it all stemmed from. And I'm passionate about being outdoors, you know, and I've got 2 boys, 8 and 11, and, you know, they love their iPads too, but I try and promote as much as I can to get off that, get outside, ride your BMX, play soccer, play basketball, ride your motocross, whatever it is that your family or you can do as an individual to get back to nature and outside. That's the best thing for us as humans, you know. So I'm really thankful to be able to create my own team and get the sponsors that I need from the industry to make it happen, and able to give back to some juniors and some of the local senior riders that I have on the team, and create a platform for myself and them riders to display their talent and get out there.
Awesome to see. Now, wrapping this one up, where do we see Brett Metcalfe? I know you said there's only one more year, but you go through next year, you go and you win a championship, for instance. Do we see Brett Metcalfe back again, or is that it? We're going to just concentrate on the team?
I might have to tie my arm. I don't know. Look, I'd love to say, you know, I can race another 5 years, but reality is, you know, I have to, as long as I'm competitive, I always said if I'm competitive and I can race, always my motto has always been race to win, plan to win, prepare to win, and then if it happens, great. If it doesn't, learn from it and continue on. And as long as I'm competitive, I feel like I want to keep racing. You know, the spirit's still alive. I love it, but I have to also think, well, when is it time? You know, so one more year, I'm dedicated, committed for that, and we'll see. But I'm pretty certain it will be the year 2024 to be my 24th season as a professional. I'm number 24. It just feels right to say that's it.
Oh, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us. You're an absolute legend here in Australia and in the sport of Supercross.
Cheers, Danny. Thank you.